Hello all, my name is Hannah Clayton and I named my microcosm project the Anthropogenic Impacts on Algal Environments. I primarily took on this project because I wanted to better understand how runoff impacts environments and habitats and the growth of algae and other complex organisms. I wanted to better understand this because here where I live, close to the Puget Sound in Washington, there's a really big struggle to save salmon and orcas, and a big reason that their populations are decreasing is the fact that there are a lot of industrial pollutants and runoff during storms that are toxic to these organisms. So I hypothesized that the algae that I gathered from a pond close to my house, or rather the microcosm that I gathered in a bioswale pond close to my house, would grow algae a lot more and a lot faster than the other microcosms that I'm gathering, and also that microcosm would be unsuitable for the growth of multicellular organisms, especially those that contribute to the growth of salmon, such as shrimp and other organisms. So I took 4 mason jars. One of them I used to fill the others. The first microcosm I gathered in Swan Creek. It is 1 part sediment, 1 part air, and 2 parts water. The second microcosm I gathered from the Puget Sound, which is a briny saltwater area, and it is 1 part sediment, 1 part air, and 2 parts water. And then the third microcosm I gathered from the bioswale pond close to my house, and it is also 1 part sediment, 1 part air, and 2 parts water. This is where I gathered the algae that kind of served as my constant, and then I added 25 milliliters of algae to each microcosm. So the idea was to add algae to each microcosm and see which one grew it the best. So this is a summary of all of the data that I gathered on microcosm number 1. To the right here is a picture of where I took the water and sediment samples from, and then housed the algae. You can see that the water is pretty clear and free-flowing. It seems like a nice environment for multicellular organisms. So we'll move over here to the graph. This red line here details the visibility and translucence of the water. You can see that over the course of 3 weeks it increases to where you can see it pretty well through the water, and then it kind of plateaus during week 3 to 5, and then it actually starts decreasing. So the visibility and the translucence of the water decreased over the last few weeks, I think because of the decomposition of plant matter, which you can see here. The plant matter in the microcosm kind of didn't start until week 2, and it increased pretty quickly, and then slowly started increasing week 3 to 7. The next variable I'll discuss is the presence of bubbles. You can see in week 1, I started to see a lot of bubbles forming on the plant matter and just rising from the sediment. It increases and kind of plateaus until it decreases until there are no bubbles present during week 5. Then I detailed the presence of autotrophs here in this orange line. It started out on week, almost from the very beginning. I guess the algae settled at the very top that I inserted, and you can see on the sun side of the jar, the area of the jar that was exposed to sun, it kind of lined the surface of that water. And then by week 3, it had actually started decreasing until by week 7 there was no algae growth at all. And then finally, the presence of heterotrophs. During week 2, I started seeing small white organisms that would move erratically throughout the jar. And then on week 3, I noticed a caddisfly larvae. It actually took me a while to figure out what it was exactly because it looked like a bunch of twigs moving around. It's also known as a periwinkle bug. But I noticed him on week 3, or going into week 3. And then by week 5, the small white organisms had actually decreased until they were completely gone by week 6. And then it was just the caddisfly larvae. So this is my second microcosm that I gathered in Puget Sound. You can see it starts out with pretty high visibility within the water. Of all of the microcosm, it started out with the best visibility. And then it kind of decreased starting by week 3. I started seeing like hazy whitish growths off of the rocks, and that decreased the visibility and until it was about more than half of what it was originally by week 7. You can see the decomposition of plants didn't really start until week 3, which is about the same time that the visibility started going down, so I'm sure that has some kind of correlation with each other. And it still didn't, the plant matter didn't decompose at the same level that microcosm number 1 had. The presence of bubbles was pretty significant to begin with, just like microcosm number 1. It increased until it plateaued and then severely dropped off by week 5. And then autotrophs displayed the same behavior, where I started out with a thin line of algae at the surface on the sun side of the water, and then it decreased by week 5 until it was completely gone. But what's interesting is the same kind of show of heterotrophs, where by week 2 I was seeing the same small white organisms as microcosm number 1. By week 3, I actually saw a little shrimp, and the shrimps and the small white organisms survived together until about week 5, where the small white organisms were gone, and it was just the shrimp until week 7. And then finally, this is microcosm number 3. This is a picture of the pond that I gathered it from. I gathered it right after a hard rain. It was mostly trash and decomposed plant matter and water. I actually, when I gathered it, I saw a live mosquito in it, but he died within like 2 days, so that isn't really detailed in this graph. And I also added the algae from the constant to this as well. So I'll start with the water translucence. It started out being the least visible, and you can see it only slightly increases over the course of a couple weeks as the sediment kind of settled to the bottom. And then it actually decreased significantly until I couldn't see very well into the jar by week 7, or by week 6 rather. And this was because there was a very large algae mat, or algal mat, on the sun side, and it wasn't letting in a lot of light or visibility. So decomposition, I didn't really see any until week 3, and then it was only a slight increase. And a lot of this could have been because I couldn't see very well into the jar. But it could just be that because there were not much heterotrophic activity, that there just wasn't a lot of decomposing going on. So that leads me into the autotrophs, which you can see displayed the most growth of the 3 microcosms, and this is all algae growth. And it was so significant that I think by week 7 there was at least a 2 centimeter growth off of the sun side of the jar, and it completely covered the surface. And in bubbles, we can see that we started out kind of the same, to where there were small bubbles that were rising and forming on the plant matter and other matter, organic matter in the jar, and then actually large bubbles of about 3 centimeters formed at the top, and they would be covered with algae. And those eventually, the smaller of these went away until it was just the large bubbles there. So what I originally wanted to show was that the runoff and other pollutants and compounds coming from my neighborhood helped algae grow more, and it decreased the potential for growth in heterotrophic organisms such as caddisfly larvae or other organisms that could potentially feed salmon and very complex organisms. So microcosm number 1 and 2 served as a great example of what an environment looks like when it's free of these pollutants and how it helps the growth of more complex organisms and a better population and ecological niche. The most prevalent concepts that I think that my microcosms displayed was density dependence, population growth. This was seen in how the algae grew exponentially but hit kind of a ceiling and then didn't grow anymore, which is also an example of the carrying capacity of the environment itself. Another concept was interspecific competition between species. So this was seen in both microcosm 1 and 2 that the presence of one species decreased the other. And then the last principle is that decomposition is critical to heterotrophs and, you know, the abundance of resources in an environment. If I was able to further continue this, I would like to test the water in all of the microcosms to see what elements are there. And I would have liked to have done this initially. I don't have any way of doing this. But it would have been nice to know what exactly was present in the microcosms that were allowing the algae to grow like it was. And I would also like to improve my weekly logs and kind of add more data that can be gathered and tracked over the weeks. I think microcosms are really important, especially in ecology, because it gives you the ability to test your hypothesis in ways of like seeing what populations will grow and what environments are conducive to these populations, and like how the removal of certain variables such as sunlight and other resources can impact a population. And yeah, this concludes my microcosm project. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the semester.